Want to install a chart plotter on your PWC? You think it's hard? No, it's not. Let me show you. Hey everybody, this is Captain Frank with the Ship's Log, back in the garage at home. I'm going to do something to the ski that I'm really excited about. A couple of videos ago you might have seen that my buddies and I, we were riding down in Florida. We got caught in a really nasty storm, and we had GPS chart plotters mounted on our skis. But they were the very small handheld type that we were mounting on our machines, and they worked wonderfully. But the problem was the screen is just so small that it was really difficult to see. And in a situation like that, you don't want to have to deal with not being able to see your chart plotter or where you are and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do and what I have now is a Garmin Echomap 6-inch. I guarantee you I won't have a problem seeing this in whatever kind of conditions I happen to be in. So what I'm going to be doing is mounting this on my 2021 FX Cruiser SVHO Wave Runner, and man, I am excited because from that point on, not only will I have a really nice screen to see my chart plotter, but it also has a depth sounder on it, so I can actually see what's below me as well. So I'm going to go through the installation process. I'll start off by telling you how I'm going to do it, and then of course you guys are going to go along with me through the step-by-step process as I go ahead and do it. But I'm really excited about this, and it's going to be cool. Okay, so the first thing that I had to do is order a mount for the Garmin. I ordered a mount from Boondocks PWC, and it's actually going to be here tomorrow, and I'll go into more depth about that tomorrow. But I can tell you I'm really impressed with everything about this company so far. But the mount that I ordered, because in a situation like this, you're riding a ski, you've got a good sized chart plotter mounted on your ski. You want to make sure it's sturdy. So the one that I ordered actually mounts in two places. It mounts here as well as here. The cool thing about it is you don't lose your cup holder in the process. So I absolutely love that. But like I said, when it gets here tomorrow, I'll show it to you. I'll talk more in detail about it. But my plan is to have it mounted here and here. The GPS chart plotter will hang off on the left side. The particular mount that I ordered also has a small mount for my GoPro, so that when I'm actually using my GoPro, I can mount it there as well. So more details about that when it gets here tomorrow. But from what I've seen, pretty much it's going to be an easy job. I will have to take this panel off right here, and there's a few different screws. There's here, and there's also a couple of screws up here. By taking those screws off, you can slip this panel off, which allows you to access a pass-through to get cabling from inside the engine compartment up to your dash. So pretty easy. And then the next part, of course, is simply running the cable from my head unit up here down to the battery and for the transducer. And let's talk about what I'm going to do there. Okay, so when the cabling comes down through that pass-through, it should be coming right down in here. And the plan is, now I'm going to have two cables. I'm going to have one cable for power, of course, and the other cable is going to be for the transducer. So my plan is to run the power cable right down this side, and I'll actually use some of the existing tubing that's already in there. I will secure it to that and run it all the way in the back to the battery. So that's how the power cable is going to run. You want to keep the transducer cable and the power cable away from each other. So the transducer cable, I'm just going to run down the other side. And so that'll come down the port side, if you will. And again, I'll secure it to some of the tubing that's already there. I'll just use zip ties for that. And I have to figure out the best place to secure it. There's still some water down there because I just got finished washing the ski just a little while ago. I need to tip it up and let it run out the back. But I need to figure out exactly the best place to secure it back here so it's actually going to read properly. Now, from what I understand, the transducer that comes with the Echomap is actually meant to go on the transom. But with jet skis, the cool thing is because the hull is not going to be as thick as it is on a boat, and it's actually a pretty consistent material. If you find the right spot on the interior to mount it, you can actually mount it there and it'll work just fine. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I just got to make sure I find the right spot. So my plan will be find a spot that I think will work, secure it with duct tape, go out for a spin, make sure that it works right, and then if it does, I'll make it permanent. And that's pretty much about it. And of course, the bracket, which will be right here, will secure the Echomap, and the cabling will actually come up through here to connect to it. So should be not too hard of a job at all. So come along with me. Let's get it done. So let's get started. First thing I'll do is I'll take my Allen wrench. I'm going to take these bolts out. And of course, you want to make sure that you put them someplace where you're not going to lose them, because you will need to put this back together when all is said and done. Okay, so one thing to remember is when you pull this out, it's got clips on it. You don't want to pull it straight out. You want to slide it forward to clear those clips and then pull it off there. You probably noticed I did have to take off the bolts on this bottom panel too, because they also held the bottom part of this panel on, so I had to take those off in order to get in there. But now I'm in there. And once we get in there, if you see that, let's see if I can hold this light here. But you can see that little boot right there. That's where we're going to feed that cabling up through. Okay, so that actually goes down into the engine compartment. And of course, from here, you can get it right up to where the unit's going to be mounted there. So that's what we're looking at. It's got a little strap on it that holds stuff tight. You just kind of have to pinch it and loosen up that strap so that you can actually feed more cable through there. Okay, so let me tell you what I've done so far. Let me get my light. First thing I did is I found that it was definitely easier. I found it was definitely easier for me to take these panels loose down here in the front compartment, because that allows you to get back into here up under the area where you're running some of the cable. So it literally was just a couple of screws. There was a screw there. There's a screw over there as well. A couple of screws to take out, loosen it up, and get in there. I also took off this side panel on the port side. And here's the reason I did that. First of all, I decided that I wanted my Garmin unit to actually be on the port side. So I removed this plate that was already right here. This is where my cabling is actually going to come up. It's really nice. Yamaha already sets these cup holders up where there is a hole there so you can feed that cable through. So that's really easy. But if you remember yesterday, let's go around to this side. I told you that the pathway that Yamaha puts in to run cabling up from the engine compartment is on the starboard side. This little boot right here, it comes up through here. So the cable actually comes up on this side and I feed it over to the port side so I can come out right here. Having that panel off on the port side just made it a lot easier to feed that cable across to the other side. So not a big deal at all. So basically from here, it goes down into there, across to where this boot is. It goes down into the engine compartment from there. And going back around to this side. If you look up in there, it's kind of hard to tell. There's not much light. Let me see here if I can. There we go. It actually comes down through there, and now I've got it zip tied. I'm going to cut my zip ties so they look neater. But I got it zip tied. There's a bunch of extra cabling there, so I just coiled that up right there. Obviously, you don't want to cut it for your transducer. You've got to keep the original length there. My original plan was to try to put the transducer somewhere right in the middle, but it's really hard to find a spot that's easy to get to right in the middle. So I think I'm going to try it right here. I haven't secured it yet. I'm going to just duct tape it there, take it out for a run, see how that works. If that does, then I'll go ahead and make it permanent there, because that's a nice flat spot in the hull. And I think it may work well. So we'll find that out when we do that first run. So that is the cable for the transducer. The next thing, of course, will be the cabling for power. Okay, so the power cable that comes along with the unit is not as long as it needs to be. Of course, this unit is designed to go on a boat, and typically on a boat there is a power source at the helm, and there doesn't need to be a very long power cable. But in my case, I need to go all the way back to where the battery is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lengthen this cable. There's only 2 wires in this cable that I care about, and those are the red and the black. These other 2 wires are used for engine management, and we're not going to be doing that on my Wave Runner. So I went out, of course, and got butt connectors. I got the additional wiring that I need, and I also have the end connectors. So I'm going to, and I also got some shrink wrap. So once I connect the wiring up, put the butt connectors on, I can shrink wrap the connectors themselves, and then I can actually shrink wrap around the connectors, which will give me a really, really nice watertight electrical connection, which is obviously going to be important. It's also a good idea if you can get tinned wire. That's basically marine grade wiring and marine grade connectors as well. That just helps keep things from rusting on you. So I'm going to first lengthen this to what I need, and then I'm going to run this cabling very much like I did the cabling for the transducer. The difference is the transducer cable runs down the port side. That's where I'm installing the transducer. This cabling is actually going to run down the starboard side, and that is because, number one, the battery is on the starboard side in the back, but number two, it's also a good idea not to run the power source right next to the transducer, because that the transducer cable, I should say, because that actually can cause some interference. So I'm going to make sure they're actually both on opposite sides of the ski, so we shouldn't have a problem. So let's get to lengthening this wire. All right, so now I've got my extended cable, and we're going to go ahead and feed it through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it down through here, feed it up through this boot, because it's a lot easier coming up this way through the boot than it is trying to push something down into the boot. So feed it up through the boot, cross it over, feed it out through the port side, and then I'll take the remaining wire that's down there and I'll just go ahead and run it back here. Okay, so we are done with running all the wiring and cabling. As I showed you earlier, I ran the transducer cable down the port side and got that all nice and secured. It's good to go. Let me show you one thing that I also did do. If you look right down there, I just temporarily secured the transducer with duct tape. I'm going to run out into the water tomorrow and see how that spot works for picking up the bottom and reading the depth properly and so on and so forth. If it does work properly, then I will secure it permanently. If it doesn't, then I've got to find another spot that will actually work better. And of course, you can see right underneath that tubing right there, you see the white zip ties. That's what's actually securing the transducer cable. And you see I just got the extra coiled up right over here, because of course you don't want to cut that to length. It's got to stay one piece there. So the extra is just coiled up right there, and we're good to go. On the starboard side, if you look, you see the red and black power cables that I've again secured with zip ties. They are going all the way back to the battery. So there you can actually see where the positive and negative connect to the battery. Obviously, I've got the battery all covered back up again. The terminal's covered back up. I think I'm going to put one more zip tie on there just to make that wire just a little bit more secure. And that will be good. So, one lesson learned. If you order a package and you really want it to be on time, don't ship it FedEx, or don't have them ship it FedEx. It is 2 days later than the last time that I saw you all, because the package from FedEx, the one that was carrying the bracket, was 2 days late. But it is here. I have put the bracket on, and here it is. It uses the RAM mount system. The bracket itself was actually a custom made by Boondocks PWC. I'm going to talk about them in just a little bit, but the cool thing I like about this bracket is, first of all, I get to keep the cup holder. It's a very sturdy, very secure bracket, but I get to keep cup holder, and it actually even makes the cup holder deeper, which makes it even more difficult for stuff to come out. I'm going to have my Garmin on this side. That's what this ball right here is for. Got the larger ball because, of course, it's a jet ski. You might get into some bouncy situations. And actually, I got a smaller ball there on this side so I can actually mount my GoPro. So this actually works quite well for me. I will tell you, first of all, I was not given this rack by Boondocks PWC. I did buy it, so this is not a commercial for them. But I am extremely impressed with the quality of work that is done. Lauren, who's the guy that owns the company, he actually called me. We talked on the phone for about 30 minutes before he put this together for me, just because he wanted to see what my riding style was like, what was really important to me, what options did I want. Then he put it together and he shipped it. And wow, I mean, it is sturdy stuff. I feel like I could probably lift the entire ski up with that rack if I want to. That's how sturdy it is. So I am definitely not worried about my GPS, my GoPro, or anything like that going anywhere. It was packaged extremely well. It was easy to put together. The directions were very clear. Everything I needed was in there. I didn't have to go out and buy any additional hardware. So very, very happy about that. Again, thanks, Lauren from Boondocks PWC. I will put a link to the website in the description below. And I believe there's also a Facebook page as well. So I'll make sure that I do that too. But so everything is pretty much done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting my ski back together. And then I'll put the GPS chart plotter on there, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, finally got everything buttoned back up. Got the seats back on. I still got a bunch of my tools laying around, but that's okay. It looks good. Here is the final product. Obviously, sitting up on the ski, I still have perfect vision of my screen right here. Man, that's a nice size chart plotter screen to look at. I'm not going to have a problem seeing that puppy at all. Still got my cup holder here. I haven't mounted my GoPro, of course, because I'm actually using it for filming now, but that will mount here. Man, I'm ready to go. Tomorrow, going to take it out on the lake, put it in the water, test that transducer out, ride around a bit, just see how I like it. But it's looking really good. So we'll see you on the lake tomorrow. Okay, we are out here on the ski. We've got it in the water. And as you can see by looking at the chart plotter here, everything seems to be working well. The transducer seems to be working nicely as well because it's reading the bottom just great. The clear view screen is working on it. It's reading the depth. So far, I think we've got a good spot for the transducer. The chart obviously is working great. I've got it connected to my cell phone. The active captain map is going. So, man, I'm excited. So I'm going to run around a little bit. Obviously, if you know, it's pretty calm out here today, so I don't think I'm going to be hitting any rough waves or anything. But I wouldn't be surprised at really high speeds, or if I do happen to, you know, hit a couple of waves and leave the water for a second or two, that I'm probably going to lose track of the bottom. That's normal. I'm not concerned about that. But as long as in calm water, sitting still or whatever, I can, or at slow speeds I can see the bottom, then I'm really happy with this. So let's go out and see what happens. Okay, it looks like we are set. I got it up to 60 miles an hour. It never lost the bottom. So that looks like my transducer is in the perfect spot. So all I have to do is go back and secure that, and we'll show you how to do that. The mount is rock solid. I don't even think, even after hitting some waves, it's actually windier out here today than I thought it was. But after hitting some waves, I didn't see the unit budge. I mean, so the mount is rock solid. The unit is rock solid. Everything is working. Once I get this transducer secured, it's a wrap. So, man, I'm excited. So we're gonna go back, get the ski back on the trailer, get it back home. We'll talk about how to mount that transducer permanently now that we know we've got the right spot. That'll be it. Okay, everybody, we are back in the garage. Got the ski back on the trailer in the garage. And as I said, we had a really great test run yesterday. The transducer seemed to be in the perfect spot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make it more permanent. As I mentioned earlier, I had duct taped it in a spot because I wanted to make sure that spot worked first. Now that it does work, we are going to use a material that I actually haven't used before, but a lot of people are using it for this particular purpose. I'm actually going to be using Duct Seal. This is actually made for sealing holes and ductwork in your house, but it's like a putty. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that putty down in that spot. We're going to push that transducer down into that putty so that it sticks there and it stays there. The cool thing about this stuff is it doesn't harden, so it's going to hold that transducer in place. If for whatever reason you do need to remove it at some later point in time, you will actually be able to do that. So let's get started. Okay, so there's the transducer down there. And what I did is I just marked a couple of spots. I marked the spot where the front of the transducer is, and I marked the spot where the back of the transducer is. That way, once I take that duct tape off, I get the transducer out of the way, and I start putting this putty into place. I know exactly where I need to be putting that transducer back when it's all done. So let me get this thing out of the way, and we'll start pushing that putty down there. Okay, so now that you can see I've got a bunch of that duct seal right there, I'm going to take this transducer, put it right back between those two marks that I made to make sure that it's back in the right spot. And here, what you've got to make sure you do is that you push it down. Push it down, spread that seal out so that the transducer is actually all the way on the bottom. You don't want there to be any gaps between the transducer and the bottom. You want that seal, that putty to spread out so that you can push the transducer all the way down to where it's touching the bottom of the ski. So that's going to take a little bit of pressure. Not only, of course, will that make sure that it gets held in there right, but it's also going to make sure that your transducer reads properly. And this stuff is definitely very sticky, very, very tacky. So it's definitely going to hold it in place. Okay. I think we might be good to go. That thing is pushed down in there really good. Let me see if I can get this light to... It's pushed down in there really good. And actually, I actually even got a paddle and used that to put some leverage on it and just push it down right in the middle to make sure it's as close to the bottom as it possibly can be. And I do believe it is. So, we're good to go. Job is finished. So, there you have it. Job is done. I am so happy, so excited with the unit I got, first of all. The bracket. I'm just very happy the first place I tried in the hole was a good spot for the transducer. That's working wonderfully. I really can't wait to get this thing out on the water on the next adventure where I'm using this rig the way it was set up to be. So, but please put down in the comments below, what are your thoughts? Is this something that you want to tackle yourself? Personally, it's not that hard. I don't think it is, but let me know if you think there's an easier way to do it. Or maybe if it wasn't as hard as you thought. Maybe this video helped you. I would really, really, really love to hear that. Also, if you haven't already done so, I would appreciate you subscribing to the channel. It is free, it doesn't cost you anything, and you're going to have a lot more videos like this, some of the adventure videos and stuff coming along as well. Don't forget to like the video. Please pass it on to other people. Until next time, peace.